Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here with Pastor Dr. Joseph Tillman, D-Man Jr. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm well. I'm sorry. I'm still laughing. You're still using doctor and D-Men. Whatever. All right. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing well.
Yeah, but you don't know what the doctorate's in.
Well, that's okay. That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I
I could be like a veterinarian or something.
Right.
So
but you're not.
But I'm not.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. But
you're a Bible thumper.
I was gonna say, because I'm not even sure D-Men is even well known as far as like what that is.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, doctor.
But pastor's the link.
Pastor is the link that helps. Bridge that.
It helps fuse it all.
Yeah, that's fair.
But not everything is junior. You're just a junior.
I'm just a junior. I was a junior before I was a pastor. A junior before I was a
Joseph
D-Man.
Tillman Jr.
Right.
But all the other stuff is credentials.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair.
That makes you, good at this.
Or it makes me something. I'm not sure. I mean, gives me some validity in what I'm saying.
I'm an open mic comedian.
Right. And that
gives
you all that you need
for
what you're doing. The first.
All right. Well, today we are doing more temptation because I don't even know if we're talking about temptation anymore with what we're talking about.
I don't know if we are either.
But yeah.
You've got questions.
I've got questions.
I know. That's
yeah. Read the ad again.
Okay, here we go. Before we get started today with our questions, we want to shout out our sponsor, the Discipleship Group. The Discipleship Group is a systematic training for Christians who want to go deeper and grow stronger in their relationship with God. In these courses, Dr. Jay Zen brings you over 4 decades of study, pastoring, and teaching to equip the saints to make disciples. The Discipleship Group is a series of 6 books, each book consisting of 26 weeks. Therefore, it's 3 years of study. Each week has articles written by the author to read, a chapter from a supplemental book like The Passion for God or More Than a Carpenter, The Master Plan of Evangelism, and there's scripture readings each week from the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Psalms. I've used the Discipleship Group resources for over a decade. I've used them in groups of 2 to 3 people. I've used them in small groups up to 12 people. And I can tell you, as a pastor, as someone who spends a lot of time making disciples and meeting with others, that the Discipleship Group resources are the best that I have found for growing in our faith and for encouraging us to go and make disciples ourselves. Go to discipleshipgroup.com, check out their resources, find out information about Dr. J, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it.
Perfectly well done.
Thank you, sir.
Patreon,
yeah. You can go there and help support us and what we're doing here at When I Heard This podcast.
Website,
yeah. Go there and find out about us.
Help us support what we're doing here at When I Heard This podcast.
Exactly.
Social media.
Go there and support us and what we're doing with When I Heard This podcast through your likes, your subscribes, your comments, your shares, ring the notification bell, all that stuff.
Wonderful.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
We're getting started really quickly because this might take forever again.
Okay.
So we filmed both of the first episodes of Temptation last time at the same time. And during the first episode, when I went back to watch it, I realized I had 1,000 more questions about the last question that was 40 minutes long. That's its own clip called "Is It a Sin to Tempt Somebody Else to Sin?"
Right.
And I realized that conversation's not over.
Okay.
So this is that clip part 2.
Okay.
So if you want to follow the continuity, it goes the whole first episode, the first question of this episode, the second episode, and then the rest of this episode, and then maybe a fourth.
That's not confusing at all.
No, it makes sense.
It's perfect.
When you listen to it 5 times.
3 times backwards.
Yes. Backwards, yeah. Don't do that, because that's when the devil pops out.
Every time.
Yeah.
He gets you.
Cool. All right, so I'm just going to pick up from that conversation.
All right, whatever. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I'll recap.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to give some kind of background.
Okay, so I asked you, is it a temptation or is it a sin to tempt someone else to sin? And you said yes. And then you said, well, are you going to do it unintentionally or intentionally? And I said intentionally first, and then you said that's real bad. And then I asked you what unintentionally was, and you brought up convictions and how if I do something that goes against someone's convictions on purpose, that I'm a sinner.
Okay.
Okay, which doesn't sound unintentionally, but I can also do those things unintentionally, which is not a sin, apparently, because I didn't know that they
had those
thought
convictions.
that Satan was the yeah.
What? Okay.
Something like that.
All right.
They think that doing stuff that you and I think is perfectly normal is satanic, and we need to or just a sin.
Right.
And we need to cater to their bullshit.
Right.
So
because we're out here watching Star Wars and they're like, that's the devil.
Right. The devil's in the first one, the first one.
Yes.
At the bar.
At the bar.
It's just
every time.
It's just a devil costume that the guy's wearing. But anyway, at the cantina.
Yeah, the cantina.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So anyway,
which only proves the point that we are definitely shouldn't be watching that stuff, by the way.
Right.
But whatever. Go ahead.
I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, I do care.
We might be violating the very thing you're about to just bring up.
Right.
Okay.
The problem is that I have to care, I guess. But now,
and I know caring is so hard for you.
Okay, so So that whole conversation was me trying to figure out because basically if everyone has a different line on everything, then I'm going to unintentionally go against someone's convictions no matter what I do ever. Okay. But once I find out about their conviction, then I have to stop doing that for as to not push them away. But you also said those people are weak in faith, according to some Bible verse that's in the New Testament that Paul wrote up in one of the things. Okay. So did I recap that well?
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
Okay, so recap it your way.
No. I mean, I So the whole discussion point is right. Like, so if I am doing something, then is that I know is going against someone else's conviction.
Right. That's a sin.
That's
for me to do.
The question is that a sin?
But I thought you said that was a sin.
Okay, so all right, this is all right. I think the question is not that if I'm doing something that someone knows that I know that. All right. So here's what we're talking about.
This is so confusing to me. That's why we're doing this again.
I know. All right. So for example, all right. When and the text that I brought up about weak in faith and strong in faith was from Romans 14.
Right.
Okay. And so
with Jews and
with Jews
meat.
Correct. Okay. Right. And so for example, in Romans 14 verse 1, it says, "Welcome anyone who is weak in faith, but don't argue about disputed matters. One person believes he may eat anything, while one who is weak only eats vegetables. One who eats must not look down on one who does not eat, and one who does not eat must not judge one who does, because God has accepted him." And so this is, I think this sums up actually what we're talking about here. And,
right.
All right, because in this context, the issue is for the Jews, they have dietary laws, right, and dietary restrictions that they want to keep to even after becoming Christian,
right.
All right. Then you've got Gentiles being brought in to fellowship with the Jews,
right,
who do not have these same dietary restrictions, and so therefore for them going and eating pork or whatever, that's fine.
And the Jews think that eating pork is a sin.
Correct. It's because it's in violation of their dietary laws.
Okay.
Because they're eating and that would be considered unclean, right?
Okay.
And so
point is they think it's a sin.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's wrong. Okay. And so for the Gentile, so what it's saying here is, okay, you got one person who believes they can eat anything, right?
Right.
That's Gentile. All right. One person who can only eat the vegetables. That's
right.
the Jew. But then it goes on to say, one who eats, so the Gentile, must not look down on one who does not eat. So the Gentile must not look down on the Jew.
All right.
Right? Because the Gentile can't go, those Jews, I mean, don't they know they can eat whatever they want to? Christ has cleansed, as long as we give thanks, it's fine. Like, right. And then the other side is one who
like how you held yourself back. Oh,
yeah.
Those Jews.
Yeah. That's really, no, I had no ill intent there. All right. One who does not eat meat, Jews, must not judge one who does. So in the same manner, the Jews should not be sitting there going, well, those Gentiles over there, they're just eating everything, breaking all of these laws, and are in sin.
Okay, so if the Jews get pissed off at the Gentiles, that would mean that they're weak in faith. And if the Gentiles eat intentionally in front of the Jews in spite of their convictions, that is also a sin, correct? According to this verse?
All right. So here's the thing, though. In verse 3, it doesn't say they can't eat in front of one another. Okay? It actually doesn't say the one who eats must not look down on the one who does not eat. Okay? It's not saying that they cannot eat, because again, like in verse 6, it says, whoever eats for the Lord, since he gives thanks to God. Whoever does not eat, it is for the Lord that he does not eat. He gives thanks to God. So it's not saying they can't.
Okay.
The issue lies with should they? Okay. Does that make sense?
So I can't sit there with the rack of ribs and think that the Jews are stupid.
Right. And
that's a sin.
And also that if I realize it's going to cause this major upheaval and disruption, right, and cause arguments, maybe I should just say, you know what? That's not worth it.
Okay.
When I'm with them, I'm just not going to eat any meat. Okay?
All right.
But if when I'm with other Gentiles, or when I'm with Jews who are okay with it, go for it.
Okay.
And so it doesn't actually clearly state here, don't do that. However, in another passage,
so is it cool with you if I roast this entire pig?
Right. That'd be a good question to ask.
Okay.
Right. And so it doesn't say that here. All right. But in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, okay, and this is dealing with a different kind of food, all right, because it's not dealing with necessarily dietary laws completely. It's dealing with food that's been sacrificed to idols. That's a whole nother thing.
Oh, right. We've talked about this before.
Right.
Okay.
And so here's what I'm getting to. In verse 13 of 1 Corinthians 8, Paul says, therefore, well, let me back up actually, verse 11. So the weak person, the brother or sister for whom Christ died, is ruined by your knowledge. Sorry, verse 12. Now when you sin like this against brothers and sisters and wound their weak conscience, you are sinning against Christ. Therefore, if food causes my brother or sister to fall,
so it's a sin,
I will never again eat meat, so that I won't cause my brother or sister to fall. And that's what the issue is, right? Because if you're causing individuals to stumble, if you're causing individuals to fall, then don't do it. And again, the context is different.
So what you're saying is that the Jews have tied not eating meat so closely to their Christian faith at this point that if I eat meat in front of them, I might make them not be Christians anymore.
At this point, so that's the Romans context. Okay. The Corinthian context is different. Okay.
This is not helping.
I know. Okay. It's still meat. It's the context is different. And I'm going to bring both of them together. Okay. The context is different because here it's actually dealing with Gentiles and Gentiles. Okay. Because it's dealing with Gentiles that are coming out of pagan idolatry. Okay. Where they would sacrifice meat at the pagan temples. And so what Paul's saying here is, for those Gentiles, let's say they're just coming to know Christ, they associate eating meat that's been bought in the markets that possibly could have been sacrificed to idols. they see that meat as, as something that's horrendously wrong because it's been sacrificed to idols.
Any meat or just meat?
Just this meat. The problem is in the market, it wasn't always clear what meat had been sacrificed to idols and what had not been.
Oh, so there were Gentiles going around saying never buy any meat from the market because it might have been sacrificed to
or
idols.
There was Gentiles going around going, hey, eat meat. It doesn't matter. It's all fine.
Right, okay.
But then these younger Christians or Gentiles who had just become Christians are now going, yeah, but that's pagan, right? Because that's for them connected to sacrificing to idols, okay? And so
they brought the meat to the market.
Right. And they're like, no, we can't do that. We can't eat the meat.
Okay.
And so Paul's saying, okay, so for their sake, now this is actually for the Gentiles' sake.
Okay.
We're not going to eat meat. Okay. And so both of them, though, have the same point. Okay. And Paul goes in verse 9, and he talks about our freedom. And so verse 3, my defense to those who examine me is this: don't we have the right to eat and drink? And then it's a rhetorical question. And he's saying, yes, obviously, we have the right to eat and drink. Am I not free? Of course I'm free. Verse 13, don't you know that those who perform the temple services eat the food from the temple, and those who serve at the altar share in the offerings of that altar? In the same way the Lord has commanded for that those who preach the gospel should earn their living by the gospel. So in other words, he keeps going on, and he's saying, listen, I'm obviously free to do this. Verse 19, although I am free from all, not anyone's slave. Paul goes on to say, but I have made myself a slave to everyone in order to win more people. To the Jews, I became like a Jew to win Jews. To those under the law, like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, to win those under the law. To those who are without the law, like one without the law, so the Gentiles, though I am not without God's law, but under the law of Christ, to win those without the law. To the weak I became weak in order to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that I may by every possible means save some. Now I do all of this because of the gospel, so that I may share in the blessings.
So how does he not eat meat and eat meat at the same time?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and so for this, it all has to do...
Veggie burgers.
Yeah. It all has to do with who are we with, okay?
Okay.
And what is going to actually be a stumbling block in that context or not.
So
okay?
Paul agrees with me that I should have no convictions depending on whoever I'm around.
He's
like, if I go hang out with a whole cake people, I should eat a whole cake. And if I go hang out with get buzzed people, if I go hunting with people, I should not think hunting's bad and go hunting.
Right. Okay.
That's what Paul was doing?
Yeah. So Paul is saying, no, okay, here's the thing. Paul's saying now he does have a law that he's under. It's the law of Christ. Okay.
Okay.
And so he obviously has a biblical ethic. So he's not saying we throw away biblical ethics or biblical morals or, duties and values.
Sin.
Right. He's what his thing is. There are things that are clearly sin, right?
Right.
And there are things that are not, right? That are more custom and tradition, okay? And that where preferences derive from,
okay?
That can form personal convictions, okay?
Right. That closely attached to your faith.
That correct.
And that if I,
Yep. And so Paul's going, I need to be aware, okay, of what is what, okay?
Okay.
And so for Paul, he is going to stand, he's very clear about what is sin and what is not sin, right? Like in Galatians chapter 5, he says, the deeds of the flesh are obvious. They are, and then he just lists them, right?
Okay.
Same thing in Romans 1, same thing in Ephesians 4. He's like, these sins are just obvious, guys. Here they are. We don't need to do this, okay? So he's obviously making very clear lines.
And if someone calls
is.
you out for any of those things, that's not them being weak in faith.
Right. Because it's sin, right? It's clearly sin. The issue Paul has is that, but for the things that are not, it's not clearly sin. It is more personal conviction, right?
Right.
So for the Jew that says, no, but I understand I'm a Christian. I understand I'm saved by grace through faith in Christ. I still want to hold to the dietary laws.
So,
Paul's going, that's fine. And for the Gentile that says, you know what, I know I probably can eat all the meat, but I still have a hard time getting past the fact that some of that meat might have been sacrificed to idols in the pagan temples. Paul's going, cool. You don't have to eat the meat. And if I'm in your presence, I won't eat it with you either.
Okay. So if I intentionally go in front of people who are traditionally not eating meat and eat pagan sacrificed meat in front of them,
right?
Am I sinning?
If you know that is going to cause all of them to be bothered.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here's my question.
Okay.
All right. So you're a pastor. Okay. This is a scenario.
All right.
That's half real.
Okay.
You're a pastor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we brought up tattoos last time.
Yes, sir.
And how people think that tattoos, it clearly says don't do that in the Bible. And some people attach that to their faith like the Jews did with vegetables.
Right.
And okay, so say you're at church, you don't have a drummer, and you need a drummer.
Right.
And the only person that you know that can drum and who's just like, I'll do it.
Right.
Is a dude covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
And you know that there's 3 people at church who attach not having tattoos as a sin very closely to their faith.
Right.
Just like Jews with vegetables.
Sure.
What do you do?
That's a good question. Okay.
Because according to this scenario with Jew vegetables, pagan meat, Gentile stuff, you would be in sin if you hired tattoo drummer.
Okay. So let me give you 2 different scenarios.
Okay.
All right. So
and I bring this up because this has to happen all the time.
Yeah.
With half or all or most of the stuff that you do as a pastor.
Sure.
So how is there any getting around this situation and you not sinning all the time against somebody else's convictions?
No, it's a good question. All right. So for example, this summer I went on a mission trip, to Colombia. And so I know, I'm aware that in where we go in the more rural areas of Colombia, tattoos are not okay. They're not acceptable. Okay. All right. One of the guys that was going down there with me had a sleeve of tattoos. Okay. Okay. And he wasn't just going down there with me. I was actually going to have him share. Okay. Okay. And so one of the things that we decided was to go ahead and cover, like, that he needed to wear long sleeve shirts all the time to cover up those tattoos, because we didn't want that to be a stumbling block to him ministering in a completely new environment that they didn't know him, right? Okay. And they know me, but even still, like, we didn't want to push an envelope, of something we shouldn't, Okay. And so, and we didn't, and to fall into this kind of context, biblical context, we didn't want to cause a stumbling block, right?
By the way, if you asked me to go to a closer to the equator country and told me I had to wear long sleeves the whole time, I would just move north. I wouldn't even hang out with you anymore. I'd be like,
your reaction.
I'd be so offended that you asked me to do that. I would just move to Alaska or Russia.
Or Russia.
Yeah.
So the answer, so your response is not even just to say no thanks. It's just no, you're not even my friend anymore. Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing this podcast via Zoom from now on. Yeah. If at all.
Google Meet.
Right. And so anyways, so I think that's a situation where we're going into this, this church, this culture, this country that I knew we needed to be mindful of it. Right. Okay. And so he wore long sleeves. And by the way, when we're out when I'm out working, like in other countries, like doing like construction and stuff, I'm wearing long sleeve and long pants, even while doing the construction, so that I don't get roasted.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
just as long as they're breathable, man. Just as long as they're breathable, it's fine.
No. Yeah. No. There's air north of here, so
that's where you're going. Okay. All right. So that's one scenario. Okay.
Okay.
Now bringing it into like a local church setting.
Yep.
Okay. For us, if there are individuals that have an issue with that, like what you're talking about, like I know. hey, we need a drummer for this, and the only guy we can find has tattoos, and yet I know that's going to be bothersome for some people.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you said 3.
Yeah.
All right. So for 3 people, I might go to those 3 people and say, listen, we need a drummer. Here is who's coming in. And I need you to know up front they've got tattoos. Okay. Now, I might ask the drummer to do the same thing I asked his other guy to do with me and just wear long sleeves and not worry about it. Right.
Okay.
And that's one way to completely get around it and no big deal. The other way would be to go and talk to these individuals. All right. Hey, I know this is an issue for you. Are you going to be okay with this? Like, where are we on this? Right.
Okay.
With this person coming in. And so again, it all depends as a local pastor. Like, 'cause I'm not trying to put it in just my church context. I'm talking about as just a local pastor in any context. I think we have to be mindful of those individuals. What is the way to honor them? And like, for example, the dude with the, easiest thing may be to say, hey, wear long sleeves and long pants and be cool with it, And I mean, of course, the next thing could be, well, man, he's got tattoos on the side of his face or something, right?
Right.
And then, okay, so there's no covering it up. So I'm going to go to those few people and say, hey, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. This guy loves Jesus. He, plays drums. We need a drummer. He's available. But I know this is maybe problematic for you.
Okay.
How are you feeling about this? And then we're going to have an open discussion about it.
Okay. So what if they say we are going to be severely offended by that?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Boy, that's a tough one as a pastor.
Right, because either way you sin. So
because
get out of this one.
Yeah. because what I would actually ask of the individuals is, it's not about taking them to scripture to show them where I think I'm biblically right on tattoos being okay. That's not the issue for me. That's not where I would go. And so for me, I'm going to Romans 12. And so in verse 10, love one another deeply as brothers and sisters. Take the lead in honoring one another. And I would actually ask them to extend love and extend honor to this person.
Okay, what if they say no?
And then I would ask them that, we need to really check our hearts on this. And I'm being fully honest.
Okay, and then they say no.
And I would probably eventually get to the point to go, he's probably coming anyway.
Okay, you just sinned.
And that may be the way it's seen, because the problem is, if you're asking someone to be okay, or you're asking someone, to say, hey, I need you to be okay with this, right? On these 3 individuals' parts. But the problem is, for the drummer, he can't do anything about it.
Right.
Right. There's nothing he can do about it.
He already has face tattoos.
Right. Done. Right.
Okay. So how are you not a sinner?
Yeah.
I don't understand. This is the whole point of this scenario, because
I know.
Because this Bible verse puts you in a position where you can't get out of not sinning.
And obviously this is the logical fallout of any of these kind of things.
Right.
Right. It's
any decision that you make.
Any decision I make is going to possibly cause a few people to be upset.
Right.
The things that we have to do as pastors is to help people, again, understand, here's Bible, here is essential doctrine, right? That's one side. Over here are the biblical ethics, morals and values that we say are non-negotiables, right? And then there's the convictions and preferences we have, okay, right, that are often derived from sense of Scripture, but we also have to have an honest take to go, well, but it's disputed, it's debatable, it's some people are going to fall on this side, some people are going to not fall on that side, and we are okay with one another.
Right, but they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And you still have to make a decision.
And I have to pastor them to the point to where I'm saying, for their own sake, to be able to see these differences, to discover what it is to look like loving someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't dress like you, who doesn't have, doesn't act like you, and their preferences and convictions are different than yours, right? And to extend love and actually help them. This is part of them growing and maturing.
Or it might not even be their conviction or whatever. They just got them all when they were not Christian.
Sure.
And they 100%. Can't do anything about it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I know someone, for example, and before he was a Christian, he had a tattoo just put, it's huge, just across his bicep. Now, he has since then had it, covered and that kind of stuff, but it's still this massive tattoo that's right there. And there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah.
Ever. Right. And so anytime he's wearing short sleeves, you're seeing it, and so and I think that's where we have to learn as a body of Christ and as a family of God in particular, we have to learn how to extend love, how to extend honor to people.
Right, but how are you deciding that hiring the drummer is not a sin for you to do against those people?
Yeah, because it is.
And who are you to decide that?
I know.
When the Bible says that you're sinning.
Well, the Bible's not saying that I am sinning over this. Okay, now,
but that's what we just went through.
Well,
if I intentionally went in front of the Jews and ate pagan meat
that I knew I knew
it was going to offend them, then I would be sinning.
Yeah.
So you intentionally hired a drummer that you knew was going to offend 3 people, so you sinned.
And that is, and to be honest with you, that's probably the way it's going to be seen, and that's probably the way it's going to be understood. And I know you're sitting there going, no, that's just the way that it is.
Right.
And it's not an appearance or anything. And I guess I'm sitting there going, but I also, when Paul is saying to be a Jew, to be Jews, Gentiles, that's what he's choosing to do, right? He's aware of that. He has the maturity to do that. I'm asking for our people, as a local church pastor, I would be asking for our people to grow into the same maturity as Christ, right? Where for the 3 individuals, for you say that are like offended by the tattoo guy, we've got to grow. We've got to mature into going, okay, I'm going to learn to be all things.
Right, but if they don't mature in this way, that means you sinned. That's what's stupid about this whole argument, is that you sinning depends on other people not being stupid.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand.
I got you.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know.
Your faith depends on other people. I hate that.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
Okay. Yeah, I think that...
And if you do this over and over again, then you're in sin, right? Which is capital offense or whatever, treason.
I think there's also a difference between because you're talking about I'm in sin, as in I'm in violation of God's will.
Right, but that other verse said that if I sin against these people, then I've sinned against Jesus.
So, all right. Yeah, verse 12 of 1 Corinthians 8. Now, when you sin like this against brothers and sisters and wound their weak conscience, you are sinning against Christ.
Right.
Therefore, if food causes my brother or sister to fall, I will never eat meat again so that I won't cause my brother or sister to fall.
You sinned.
I know.
By hiring tattoo drummer.
Yeah, and I think this is for me, this is a bit of a difference. Okay.
Okay.
Is that as a pastor, I'm going to be like,
man, Paul got off easy. He didn't have to deal with any of this crap. He just told him what to do, and then the pastors were just sitting here like you are, like, like what the.
But
everyone's pissed at me all the time for the stupidest stuff.
Yeah, I know. I know. And so
Paul just sits there and writes a letter one day, and he's in the Bible for half the thing.
Yeah, we're all like, thanks, Paul.
And these pastors are like middle management. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? This is a bunch of crap.
It's so hard being a pastor. It's so hard. Oh man, this is such a good question, Nate. Because here's the thing. You're right. That because the issue is, here's the thing that's hard for a pastor. Okay, is because it's like this person coming and playing drums and offending this person. Like it, you kind of wish it would just kind of be with each other. Right. Because this is what Paul's talking about. Like, I'm not going to intentionally sin against you by me doing this. Right. So it's a one-on-one, if you were, interrelational thing, and not necessarily one-on-one, but it's one to a group.
You're in the middle of it,
right? Because you're about middle management, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like that's kind of like the way that it is in the sense of I'm trying to help weak and strong over here, or sometimes it can be weak and weak over here,
right?
I'm trying to help them grow in Christ. And yet be together. And I think that's the challenging part for a pastor.
So you just say, take it up with him.
Take it up. Yeah, take it up.
Tell him to take them off.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue. The challenge for a pastor is because it's like we're trying to shepherd people with one another, right? Like it's one thing for me when I'm with someone that I know they have a conviction on this to just go, cool.
Oh.
I'm going to.
So you're not
personally,
the one getting the tattoo.
Yeah. So but it's easier. Like,
and now having a face tattoo while you're preaching.
Yeah, that would be wild. And it's but I think it's
of a middle finger. Just go all the way there.
Okay. So at that point, that tattoo would be sin, right? Like we got to put soul line somewhere. But so my point though, right? Like. It's one thing for me as a person, as an individual, to go, here's how I'm going to relate with this individual over here, right?
Okay.
Or even this group over here, like when I'm going down to Columbia, right? As an individual,
so the way that
with a whole group.
So the way that you're relating to these people is you're hiring the drummer because you think he's cool and he's Christian and whatever.
Okay.
And then you're relating to the other people by telling them not to be offended by it. And then the rest is up to them. You're out of the business.
Yeah, in a lot of ways,
and
yes.
That's what you're saying?
In a lot of ways, and I'm not saying that pastors can't create situations that cause major issues.
Okay.
Right, I'm not saying that. But I think there would be a difference, if I'm being fully honest. It'd be a difference if you were sitting here telling me that, Joseph, the whole church family is going to be impacted by this.
Oh, okay.
That would be a difference for me because I would have to go, okay, I need to step back and go, do I really want to cause the whole church family to stumble? Right?
Okay.
Now,
so your job in this is to do whatever you can to make people like each other.
Yeah. And I would say beyond like, I would say to help people become like Christ in the way that they're able to love one another.
Okay, so that's your job, and Tattoo Guy's job is to cover up as many tattoos as he can while he's drumming, and the three people at church's job is to shut up.
Not shut up, but to ask the Lord to help them, move past.
Okay.
Because let me be honest with this. Like, for those individuals that have that conviction, it's probably like a really serious conviction for them, right? Like, they feel like I am... By having someone come do that, like I'm violating some kind of holy trust or, violating God's law, God's word. And so for them, it could be a really big deal. And so I want to be as loving and as patient and as, direct, but patient and loving and caring as I can to help them, even in the midst of that, show grace, be honoring, be loving toward this other individual.
Just don't listen to the drums. Don't look at him.
Don't look at him.
Look at the other people.
Look at the wall. No, but like
read the words on the thing
to help them go. What's in my heart over this? Okay, I think that's a lot of the issue.
Okay, well, I feel like you got my brain past the you sinning part somehow, and I'm not happy about it because you still sin.
Because I still sin, and it's hard. Because this is why I say this as a pastor. I'm not trying to excuse myself. The reality is, like the logical conclusion, like you said earlier, of all of this,
yes,
is that then it would be like I would be constantly sinning against people.
Yes.
And part of what I'm called to do as a shepherd is to help grow the flock into maturity, right? Like that's Ephesians 4. That is my directive as a pastor, as a shepherd, as an elder, is to help mature our people. And so to do that, there are times where I'm having to help them go from a weak point to grow in love and to become stronger in their faith.
So you need to go make everyone stronger in their faith so that you're not sinning against them all the time.
No, so that they can look more
so
like
this
Jesus.
is self-preservation on your part.
No, and it's hard because...
Please just don't think that. I don't want to be sinning all the time.
Right. I mean, no, it's not just that, right? It's not just
It's not just
that.
It's a little bit of that,
but I mean, it's hard because, like, as a pastor, like, you want people to like you. You want but that is not my goal either. Like, my goal is not for people to like me. My goal is for people to mature and grow in their faith. That doesn't allow me to be unkind, right? I need to be kind. I need to be humble, but there are going to be decisions I make that not everyone's going to like.
So you just sit around and hope people like all your decisions and don't think that you're a sinner or don't create or make you a sinner.
Yeah, because, man, I mean, we're talking about this thing, which is kind of like the obvious, or not obvious, but like, it'd be a pretty easy thing to see.
Yes.
Hey, the tattoo guy, whatever. But there's other decisions I make that go against people's convictions and their preferences, and that's hard. That really is hard for them.
So how do you decide? But never mind. I don't want to go down that road. We got to stick to the you're a sinner thing. So I just don't understand.
Okay.
I guess I just won't get it.
Yeah.
Because you basically said that you're sinning.
Well, here's the hard part: is I know that I'm offending others. Right. Like, I do know that.
Or going against their convictions.
I do know that.
You know that, and you do that all the time?
Not all the time, but it happens a good bit.
Okay.
And so
all of those were sins.
Man, that's a good question. I'm stuck on that one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because
this is the whole point of this.
I know.
This is why
I know. Because it's not like I'm intentionally trying to wrong somebody, right? But I also know that by making certain decisions, people will feel wronged. Okay?
Okay.
And it's not like I'm trying to cause someone to stumble,
Okay.
But are there things that I might do that will cause people to stumble? Yes. And that's the unfortunate part. And it's hard because when you have a body of believers, when you got a body of Christ and they all are coming from these different perspectives, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where it's hard because when you're trying to get all of them, to get everybody in agreement on one thing, you know how hard that is, And you take 100 people and you're like, yeah, we're going to try to all come into agreement on something. Well, we can come into agreement on some things, like the big things. That's what holds us together, right? Like our doctrine and our core values, and like that holds us all together. But I think that's why throughout Scripture, I guess this would be my answer. Throughout Scripture, it's Paul's letters in particular. It's constantly you have all of these what's called the one another statements. Love one another, give honor to one another, do good to one another. Try to outdo one another in the way that you give honor to them, right? And so it's a constant one another. There's always these one anoters, right? Especially when you're in 1 Corinthians 12 or you're in Romans 12, or in Ephesians 4, one another. Romans 14, Romans 15, one another. And I think that all of these one anoters are trying to help the body of Christ learn how to relate to one another in a way that actually is Christ-like, that is loving, that is graceful, that is honoring. And so as a pastor, I understand the perspective could be, well, man, you're just like, you can't help but sin almost like every week, like, isn't that kind of what you're doing, in some way?
Right.
And so I would say for me as a pastor, it's not that I'm intentionally trying to wrong people or be in sin, but we have to find ways to help our church family learn to love one another, to actually really care for one another.
Okay.
And I think that is the maturing process we're looking for, and that Paul's looking for. Paul doesn't want people to remain weak. He doesn't want them to remain, immature in their faith. He wants them to grow in their faith, be mature in their faith, be strong in their faith.
And you're the one that has to help them do that.
That's the role of a
you,
shepherd.
You have to sin and sin and sin until you can convince them that you're not a sinner.
I guess I would say, I guess here's the thing I would say, Nate. If I was violating specific biblical ethics, sin that way, that's sin. If I am violating God's law specifically, that would be sin to me. But for me as a shepherd, trying to bring people together, one another to learn, I mean, if you want to call it sin, I guess. But I guess I'm looking at it as this is my role. This is my function. This is the way that I have to be as a shepherd with our people, to try to help them coexist, and not just coexist, but really love and really care and really honor one another, even in the midst of all these preferences and even in the midst of these differing opinions. And I'm not saying that's easy, and I'm not saying I do it all the time either. It's hard, and because you're trying to find ways to help the church family grow and mature. And it's not always easy. And you are going to cause some people to feel very wronged and hurt.
I think this is why people go to megachurches. Because if I show up with tattoos, I'm one of 50 other people with tattoos.
Sure.
And the pastor knows nobody, so he doesn't know that he's violating anybody's whatever
convictions anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's why it's But
so he gets away with it. But you, small church pastor, just sinning all the time.
And I guess I would take that. I'll take the not sinning all the time, but I will take the fact that it's like they have just different challenges, right?
Yeah.
Like me as a small church pastor, the challenges I have really are more interrelational. That's really the challenges.
Yeah. Which is this.
Yeah. Correct. Which is Bible stuff. Which is, I say Bible stuff, which is seen in Scripture. That's what I mean by that.
Which is why megachurch pastors have more fun than you. Because they don't know as many people who have convictions that they can't do anymore.
Like whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think that in a megachurch setting, I think those pastors, what they have to deal with, because they're not dealing with the interrelational part as much, they're dealing with the performance part. And I don't mean that in a negative way per se. What I mean is, like, they're judged not on who they are as much,
but how good of a show they put on.
But by how good the Sunday morning production looks and experience is.
Okay.
By how well spoken and well crafted their messages are. Right.
You hire people to help you.
Well, and they do that, right? I mean, they have sermon writers, and so those people will be shocked to know that, but they do. And so I'm not saying all of them do, but there's there's a lot of sermon writers in churches, and because a lot of mega churches have sermon writing teams, even, and a lot of times the pastor is a part of that, right? They're not like excluded from that and just handed a manuscript and said, "Go get them." It's a team effort, but it's much more collaborative in that nature. And so you have a really good people with really good ideas and thoughts and how to write and craft phrases and words. And so, so I think, I just think I think there's just different pressures, on us. Like, I'm not judged as much on my Sunday morning, sermons,
right,
as much as I am with how do I relate and connect with our church family as a whole. I mean, Sunday mornings can't be terrible.
Right.
I mean, the sermons can't just be awful all the time, but that's not the, I think that's not like the main thing that people are after in a smaller church. As long as I'm being faithful in the teaching, to text. So,
all right. Well, you're a sinner.
Well, fine.
But we all are.
So I take comfort in that. Yeah. It's really hard. It's just really hard when because you're not wrong, you're
going to spend the next 2 days trying to find a verse that says you're not a sinner.
To be honest with you,
you're going to be Gandalf at Gondor.
Yeah, we're probably in sin for watching that too, right, Nate. So, I think this is. Here's the thing. I guess I've never thought about. I don't think about it as much, probably. Like on an individual, I think on these lines of like individual bases, right? Like when I'm with someone and I know they have a specific conviction or something,
Yeah.
I'm mindful of that, and so it doesn't. And so I'm trying to be mindful of like on an individual basis. I think it's much harder to do that in a corporate setting, and I think that's why, if I'm being fully honest, that's why all these letters are written. Like every letter that Paul writes or James writes or Peter or John, like they all are writing them because these churches are trying to figure out this conversation.
So they're talking to communities, not churches like ours.
What do you mean?
They're talking to communities of people more than they're talking to, this is how you should act on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, they're talking about, well, I mean, it's both. Like, it's both like, we're talking to a community of people, right? And how to relate to one another on Sunday morning services and beyond, right? And just in life. And so I think that's what they're dealing with here. That's what Paul's writing about, and James and Peter and John, they're all addressing these same issues.
Okay.
And how do we live with one another in the context of a church community?
We don't.
Like, how do we do that well? That's the whole thing.
We don't.
And that is actually why they're writing these letters, because they're every situation, whether in Ephesus or Corinth or whatever, like that's the issue. They're not doing it well. And so they're saying, Paul's writing them going, hey, guys, here, please be like this. Here, please do this. And I think that's where, Paul finally gets with the Philippians, where he's writing to them. And in chapter 2, he speaks about Christ emptying himself, that idea of kenosis in the Greek. And so Christ is emptying himself. And Paul says, if you've got any joy, any consolation, any love, any care at all, have the mind of Christ, who was willing to empty himself to come and be with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing. It's like he's saying, for us, there has to really be an emptying of ourselves to be with one another in this body. And without that kenosis, without that emptying of self, it is going to be really hard, because we're going to continue to do what Paul's addressing in Romans 14 of judging one another. Oh, you're weak in this, you're strong. We can't do that.
I guess I'm just thinking about like going to confession and being like, I had steak at dinner the other night. And the guy's like, well, that's not bad. And then I go, well, there was a vegan there with us. Or, hey, right. I watched Lord of the Rings the other night. And he goes, well, that's not bad. And then I said, well, my wife didn't like it.
Right.
Like, yeah. And it was like, oh, that's stupid.
But I think that's also more the individual aspects of things, right?
Right.
Like if I'm with someone and they're like, nah, I'm not watching any movie over PG, right? Okay.
Right.
I mean, I have a friend and
cool. Let's watch Jaws.
Right.
It's PG.
It's PG. Yep, it is.
Old PG.
Yeah, that before there was that PG-13 rating. Yeah, some of those PGs are wild. Yeah. Some of their R's were wild too. But anyway, now I'm really a sinner since I apparently know those things. And so, but I have a friend and that's the thing. Like he doesn't eat pork or red meat or anything like that, right? And so when I'm with him, I don't either.
You need to stop telling me these things. Yeah. Because I want to come to church more.
You're right.
But I don't want to know any of these issues going. I don't want to know anybody about, I don't want to know anything about anyone.
Just come and just be.
So that I don't know things so that I can still do things.
Right. Right. No, but I will say this for our church. I think our church is pretty darn accepting and loving of people.
Well, they let me walk in there. So that's
a good
step one complete.
And not only walk in there.
I was on stage with you one time.
You sure were.
Yeah, that's right.
There are people that listen. They're listening right now, right? Like they're listening to this podcast. There's a lot of people that listen to this podcast from our church.
Yeah, I was going to say you pump me up by doing this with me.
Yeah, yeah. So
you're the worst. You sin every time you come here. Probably.
I
say F words and shit words in front of you to your face, and
you
someone's got to be offended by that at church.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
Yeah.
How do you...
And yet they still love you. Right? Like they may not like it, but they still love you. And I think that's
I don't know that. I don't know any of them.
I think that's
I don't want to be a sinner.
Nate's just taking the position of I just really don't want to get to know anybody.
Yeah.
Like keep everybody at arm's length with a couple of people and I'm good.
Someone's like, I really don't think
Nope.
No.
Don't
I
want to
know.
Don't want to know. Let's just stay this far apart.
Yeah,
right.
Just la.
You go sit at that table over there, I will sit here. Yeah. So yeah. No, but anyway,
Please don't say steak. Please don't say steak.
Dude, I love steak.
I know.
I'll say that.
Right.
I love it. But anyway, so I think but I do think for our particular church, I do think we're pretty loving and accepting of people regardless of backgrounds. So
the other thing that I am, this isn't an I'm confused about thing. This is more of a probably my experience thing, but I want you to address it that we talked about last time.
Okay.
And it's or not last time, the 2 times before. Listen to the beginning for the instructions on how to watch these episodes. But, churches always, like the person with the most convictions always wins type of thing.
Okay.
And I think growing up, or my perspective on how churches and pastors operate is that if so say a kid in youth group comes and he wears a Lord of the Rings t-shirt to youth group, and some other parent tells their kid, hey, Lord of the Rings is satanic, you should never watch that or play with it or do anything with it.
Right.
If that parent goes to the pastor and says, hey, I don't appreciate that other kid showing that in front of my kid, that the pastor 9 times out of 10 is going to go to the kid and say, hey, don't wear Lord of the Rings t-shirts, even if it was his first time coming to the church, and now all he hears is, you can't do that here.
Right.
Which will make him never come back to church ever again.
Yeah.
So why, maybe this is just my experience or whatever, or the way I think the things go all the time, but why do the people with the most convictions always win and push new people out?
Yeah, your perception is definitely not wrong in some churches.
Okay.
You know, like that can be a reality. Like in pastors or youth pastors can feel an incredible amount of pressure to have to acquiesce to certain families. I mean, that's just a truth.
Okay. Because they pay the most money.
Whether they pay the most money or they've been there a long time, or they're in leadership positions, whatever it may be, of influence. Like there's no doubt pastors feel a pressure from some families more than others, right?
Okay.
And so I think it depends on the pressure that where it's coming from, and I also think it depends on even the maturity of the own pastor and their own security in themselves. So I'll give you an example of this where I handled it terribly wrong. Okay. When in a similar situation you're talking about. So when I was a very young pastor, so I was mid to late 20s. I
still can't believe you were a pastor at that.
No, it's terrible. Like, no, I never should have. Like,
what?
I mean, I say never. I feel like this is really the Lord, but like, dude, I don't know. It's too young.
It's too young.
It's too young. Like, my wife and I actually talk about it. Like,
you don't know anything.
No, like my wife and I talk about like how like I just skip steps. There's a reason you should be an associate pastor for a while,
right? To
learn and to grow and to mature, not just in like what you're doing as a pastor, but just in life. I was giving parental counsel when I didn't have kids,
right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Like, anyways.
Well, Catholics do that all the time.
But well, this is true. Okay, and so, but I think that like, so in a situation for me when I was in my mid to late 20s, and we had someone that had been in our youth group for a long time. I had known them well, knew the family well, very involved in the church. And this individual got an earring. So as a guy, he got an earring, and that wasn't very popular in our church culture.
Okay,
for guys to have earrings. So I got asked,
a youth group leader or a youth kid?
No, he was an older, like high school student.
Okay.
And I got asked by other people, hey, I don't think that's good influence on my younger kid.
Right.
Can you talk to him about this?
Okay.
And I did. And I said, hey, and I was trying to see it from the people's perspective that were coming to me, going, hey, this is not a good influence on our child, da-da-da-da. And that's the way I framed it to this individual. Hey, I think that's not the best influence, not the best, when the reality is I should have just gone, you know what, his parents were okay with it.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. That's what I should have done. And instead, these people want me to basically pull the pastor card to go and talk to this person and tell them and convince them to, not have the earring anymore. And I did. And that was the wrong thing for me to do.
Okay.
Because those kind of things are not those, again, parents were cool with it. I should have been cool with it, and I had no issue with it individually until these people started coming and talking to me. And I'm not saying they pressured me like, we're going to fire you or we're going to leave, or I'm not saying they did any of those things. Okay. All I'm saying is they presented a certain case and I was like, no, I need to really be, mindful of that. And I should have asked those individuals who were coming to me and asked them, why is that why is that problematic for you? Of all the things, why this?
Right.
And are we really willing to, you're worried about your child getting an earring, but what damage could we do to this young man's soul by telling him, basically, get rid of the earring or you need to leave?
They close back up.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't do that. I didn't say you had to leave or anything like that, right? There's no threats made but because of my influence in this person's life, he went along with what I suggested.
Okay.
And I regret that because it started a domino effect of him feeling pressure after pressure after pressure to have to fit a certain mold that other people wanted him to fit.
Right.
And that's no longer about these other people. That's about this person's soul. And it ended up being really damaging. And that's the part that I hate. Because I feel like I was part of that,
Yeah.
in that one situation.
Okay.
And now me and this person have since all of that, we've talked, we're good, fine. But I just wish, if I was to talk to younger me, Joseph 20 years ago, I would have said, Joseph, don't do that.
Also, you're going to be sinning all the time as a pastor.
Every minute. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Okay. So
but so to get what you're saying,
yeah.
That I think there's got to be ways in which we have really honest conversations and say, okay, I hear what you're saying, like Lord of the Rings, shirt, the earring in the ear, whatever it may be, and be able to say, but this is part of that growing process, right? Are we really going to push our preferences and our convictions on this person? Because that's what was happening, right?
Right.
And that is what happened when you do those kind of things. And then what these people are asking the pastor to do is choose preferences.
Right.
And that's where, for me, at 46, I'm trying to be cognizant of, is this preference or not preference? Is this honoring or dishonoring? Is this, how can I love and honor in a way that's healthy for all parties? And sometimes that's telling the party that wants that has all these convictions and want it to be just this, to go be like, no.
Well, we're not doing that. Okay, so since you know about this and think about it at 46, do you think a lot of pastors think about this stuff, or do you think they just go along with whoever talks to them first?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or whoever pays the church the most money?
It really depends on pastor. I mean, I'm just being honest. It depends on pastor to pastor. I've heard from pastors both sides of this.
Okay.
I've heard the pastor that has said, I don't necessarily maybe even love this, but man, if we lose this family, we're financially not going to make it.
Really?
Yeah. And then I've also heard from the pastor that said, I don't know how we're going to make it financially, but I can't go along with what they're asking me to do. So I've heard it from both sides.
So there's people out there that don't even have, they don't even care if I have a earring in. they just want control over the pastor and the church. So they come to you and say, hey, I don't like this person that does this, and they want the control.
Yes. There are absolutely...
Has that happened to you before?
There are absolutely people that want control. Yeah. So again...
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. When I was a younger pastor.
Okay.
And again, I think it's easier when
people thought they could manipulate you.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You shouldn't have been a pastor.
I don't think anyone should in their 20s, you know? And so now this person's, I mean, they basically were like, hey, we're going to really help y'all out financially. Okay. We were a small church plant.
Okay.
And we weren't doing terrible, but we weren't doing great financially. We were just kind of making it, you know? And they were like, hey, we're going to really help you out financially. In exchange, I want the opportunity to speak sometimes when there's things I want to say.
Right.
And I told them no. And they left, and I say left, they were kind of like toes in.
Yeah.
Now we're going to walk away. So I need it
all up front.
Right. Right. I need one.
Yeah.
This check better be huge. No, I'm just like, and so I think that, so even then though, like even in my 20s, I was willing to say no to something so extreme as that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an extreme thing, right? Like that's pretty upfront. Like,
because he could just come say, hey, everything Joseph said last week is BS. Here's the real sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so but that's what I'm you're getting to like the idea of control, right? Yeah. Right. And so then I think there's others that do it in a much more subtle way.
Okay.
But still want the control.
Okay.
You know, and that's where you have the behind the scenes, you know, they're going around, you know, telling people Joseph won't do this, or, you know, Joseph, you know, is this way or whatever, right?
Mm.
Instead of just coming directly to me,
right.
You know, or they may have come directly to me. I said, nah, and then they're going to still do that. Right. So I think that, I think for me, I've had people try to pressure me in some ways, but I think that's like the clearest example that I can think of. There's been another example, but it was, I'd gotten older. And so even though I was young to this person, I was more secure in myself.
Okay.
And was able, and now that I wasn't secure at that previous point, that was just blatant and kind of crazy, you know, but there's another one that was like, you could definitely tell they still wanted control. And they thought because of the age differential, they could have that with me. And I was just like, no, we're not doing that.
Okay.
You know, but I was very secure where I think there were, and these are kind of, I have these two examples in my head that are more blatant. I think there are others that did try to use their age in particular and maybe not money as much, but definitely age as a way of going, hey, we can help you, you know, if you kind of go along with us, you know,
right. Okay.
Or, hey, this is actually the best way that this needs to be handled. And I was again, as a young pastor, you're just trying to make, I was trying to make everybody happy, you know, like I'm a young church planner, and I didn't realize the impact that was going to take on me mentally of just going,
you've told 5 old rich people that you're going to do whatever they want.
Right. And they all want different things.
Right.
Yeah. And so you're just like, at some point, you're like, uh-oh.
But Mr. Johnson wants me. Okay.
So, you know, and I think that was like, when you're a small church planner, you're just trying to make it, right? You're just trying. It's like the idea of losing families. You're like, man, I don't want to lose any families. So then you become like, okay, like you just try to please everybody. And what I learned was in doing that, you please nobody, right? Yeah. Like when you try to please everybody, you please nobody. And so I've learned from that. But those were reasons why I shouldn't have been a pastor in my early 20s, a senior pastor in my early 20s. So,
okay, well, all of these questions come from a point of, from my perspective, of a point of not wanting to put any barriers in between new people coming to church.
Okay.
And that's where all of my questioning comes from.
Okay.
Not because I want to get away with whatever I want and do
Right.
whatever I want in front of people. I have been the person on that end of things a lot, and it sucks, and it makes you not want to come. And
Sure.
so when people talk about church attendance is down in America, this is what I think about.
Gotcha.
That's the point.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's definitely one of the reasons. It's not the only reason, but it is one of the reasons.
I know it's not
Yeah.
the only reason, but to me, this has happened so many times. I'm just like, well, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go somewhere where I find out someone has an issue with me every time I come.
Ah, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
For stupid things that no one can understand or explain why they have an issue with it.
Right.
Or they just sound crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we're always going to have the crazy people. Like those people exist.
Yeah.
Right. But I agree with you. Like, no, and I'm with you. Like, I want the tent to be as broad as possible, right? Obviously, without violating biblical ethics and morals, right? Like, we're clear on that.
But those people can come in. They just need to know that what they're doing
100%,
is sin.
100%. So
I feel like I didn't make that clear in the first episode.
So, like, 100%. Like, okay, like, for example, if we have a couple that comes to our church and they're gay, okay,
right?
They come to our church.
There we go.
Right. I mean, these are like real things, right? They come to our church, and they're a couple, and I have no problem at all, zero, with them coming to our church, right?
Right.
Now, they'll understand that we have a position that's going to be doctrinally different than their own, right? That we're going to believe something that's different than what they believe in. But like, man, if they're not trying to push an agenda or, like that, they just really legitimately want to just come and be and know and learn and grow and be in the community. Like, come on, like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So like even the lines that are obviously very clear for me that I go, biblically, marriage is between one man and one woman, right? And I teach that, I preach it. I don't knock people over the heads with it. I don't, it's in our statement of faith.
Statement of whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in our statement of faith. On our, we have a statement of faith, we have a whole section called Gender, Sexuality, and Marriage, where we're very upfront with where we believe. And at the same time, an individual or a couple that come and, and they're in a same-sex relationship with somebody, come on, like, honestly, come and be. And so, and again, as long as there's not like a pushing, trying to force an agenda or push something that is different than what that we already stand on, I'm good.
Right.
I want you to come and learn about Jesus, learn about the gospel, learn about his word, learn what it looks like to be in, the context of a church family that is trying to follow Jesus, right? I want you to come to, why wouldn't I want you to come be there? And so, so even in those areas where we make very clear, delineations of what is sin or not sin, man, I still want the tent to be as broad as possible, right? Much less for people that have, tattoos or earrings or
right.
or whatever, right?
The preference stuff,
or come walking in and they're wearing flip flops with shorts, Well, we have people that wear shorts on Sunday morning, so come on, whatever, But like,
I'm offended by that.
Are you? Yeah,
you're a sinner.
I know. Here we go. And so, I know.
I'm just going to be that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be offended about every little thing, and I'm going to let you know every week, and then I'm going to turn you into a hellbound pastor. Because I'm so offended by everything that you're just sitting constantly.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's like the person that this has happened since I was a youth pastor, right? But you've always got the person that's like, hey, if they don't come dressed, with the coat and the tie, they're not wearing their Sunday best. They don't really need to be here. Like, or we need to help teach them how to dress for church.
Right.
What? What? I mean, obviously there's a sense of modesty.
I'm going to come to your house naked and say, go. Do it.
No.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Not your house, their house.
Okay. And so, yeah. But
I'm not dressed for church. Dress me for church.
I'll give you their address when their podcast is over. All right. So, but I've had people like this since I was a youth leader, and I remember being told, like, even as like a youth pastor, you need to be wearing a suit.
Right.
You need to be wearing a suit. And,
to youth group.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I didn't say it to youth
where everyone
group,
always wears cargo shorts and slides.
Right. 100%. That's all they wear. And so, anyways. So, so there's always those kind of things, right? And like for the person that wants to wear their Sunday best to church, right? Like they want to wear the coat and the tie, or they want to wear the nice dress, or right? Like that's awesome.
Right.
Like it's just, we can't make that the conviction for everybody else. That's the kind of the point.
Well, that was a 1 question episode. Our first ever. So we're going to have to do this again. And somehow that episode was about temptation. So
we don't really know how.
What?
Yeah. We don't even know how, do we? Maybe.
This was about pastoral temptation to sin against everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, this has been the When I Heard the Podcast. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and locals at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell. Tell everyone that you know about the show, and go to the website where there's t-shirts. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoff, and you can follow Joseph on Instagram at
RevGOT.
This has been the When I Heard This Podcast. I'm going to see you guys next time.
Hope I'm not sinning. Bye.